Hello everyone and a happy new year. In this brief tutorial, I will be giving an example of what a personal learning environment could be. This will be a very short and practical example of a PLE, so I won't approach the theoretical concepts as I did in the last presentation. This will be a practical example about the technologies that could constitute a PLE. So let's assume that five people want to learn everything about the Maya civilization. So in a formal scenario, they go to a school or an institution or an academia, and they can use a virtual learning environment such as Moodle to learn the subject. Now, teachers usually structure their courses on Moodle, and this has certain advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages, which the PLEs can give a good contribution, is that Moodle is too teacher-oriented. The teacher defines the contents, the teacher defines the structure, how the contents should be given, the steps. Uh, Teachers normally don't build good activities of collaboration. So normally students don't learn from one another too well inside Moodle. So the learning teaching system is too centralized on the teacher, on a technological platform based on the teacher. So and if we take into consideration the informal learning, the learning that takes place during a normal day, people learn informally. So we don't have a centralized system, we have a not centralized system, so where people learn from one another. So this network of knowledge, where everybody is a teacher and everybody is a student, can be, in theory, enhanced by Web 2.0 technologies, such as YouTube, Facebook, Google Drive, blogs, etc., etc. So, in other words, can technologies that are used well in informal scenarios be adapted to formal scenarios and give the advantage that informal learning gives to students? So let's see what could be the tools to build a PLE. So let's assume that these four people all have sharing on the internet something about the Maya civilization. For example, the first one has a blog, and he writes about the Maya civilization. The second one has a Picasa account, and so shares photos about the Maya civilization. The third one has a YouTube account and stores videos on Mayan temples, for example. And last, a student can have a Digo account, which is a tool to store links, and store several links on Maya culture. So if someone wants to build his own personal learning environment, maybe one kind of tool that he needs first is a search tool. So he wants to search knowledge from the internet. So he could use the normal Google search engine, but he could also use another more specialized search tools. But let's assume that for this moment, search tools will be one type of tools that a PLE should have. Secondly, after he finds the information that he wants, he may want to store it. He store it for himself. So he needs some kind of storage tools. For example, he can copy paste the information of this blog and put it on his own blog, or put it on his Google Drive account. He can put the photos of this student on his own Picasa account. He can put the videos of this user on his own YouTube account. And he can copy paste the links of this Digo account and paste them in his blog, for example, or his SkyDrive Google Docs account. So the student chooses his favorite storage tools, They don't have to necessarily be in the same format of the original content. Third, he might want to edit this content. So he wants to store the content to edit to his personal taste, to his personal learning objectives. So he may have a set of editing tools. Let's just give some practical examples. For example, this photo can be edited with a software which is Photoshop and be put in another way. So this is just a basic editing, color picture changes into a black and white picture. But this also serves to show that the tools of a PLE don't necessarily have to be Web 2.0 tools or internet tools. It can be a normal software such as Photoshop, which is one of the most popular photo editing software. So any software can be part of a PLE, not just online services, online software. And for example, the student can have a Google Maps account and so change the original format to put it, for example, a point on a map that by being clicked has some kind of text and the original photo. So when someone edits content, he is kind of adding value to that content. He's giving his own personal perspectives, information, etc., etc. So editing tools are very important in any PLE. The student can also, this is another example, produce his own content based on the content that he got from others. For example, and this is kind of new, 3D content, 3D models. He can use a software such as Blender. Blender is a software that builds 3D replicas, 3D models, and build a 3D model of the temple. So he adds value by creating new content as well that can be later shared with others. Now, some of this content is private. He doesn't want to share with anybody because that content may still be need some changes, some editing, and it's not prepared to be published to others. But some of that content is ready to be shared, and so a PLE can also have some publishing tools. For example, a student can have a blog where he publishes something about the Maya civilization, a Picasa account, YouTube, Second Life. I will be explaining this one in a little bit, and Google Maps. So now it's the other way around. So by publishing, he allows other people to get to store the content and learn from this student here. So this student can use his blog to take information from this blog. This one has Picasa, this one has Second Life, which is a virtual world for 3D models, and this one has an RSS feed, which is a tool to aggregate several blogs. So in a sense, another important aspect of the publishing tools is that they are normally aggregation tools, which means that a publishing platform such as a blog can, in one post, aggregate several media, several contents into one single post. So for example, I could put text, I could put an image, and I could put a Google map which has an image inside it in one single post. So aggregations tools are important because on the editing phase, one kind of editing is aggregation. So I want to group several types of content to build a macro content, which I find especially useful. So I told you about Second Life. Second Life is a three-dimensional virtual world where people can travel freely. So it's a software that we install on our computer, and being connected online, we speak with other people that are connected in this world. So this could be one of the places that the student could drop his 3D model. So he builds the 3D model in a software called Blender, and then he inserts the model inside the virtual world. The same thing happens with, for example, a photo. He edits in Photoshop, but he publishes the photo in a blog. So the same here. We can have a 3D tool, such as Blender, to make the 3D, and then we insert it, embed it in a virtual world to be touched, explored, interacted with. So finally, another kind of tools that a PLE should have is communication tools. People want to communicate, to change personal perspectives, etc., etc. So, as you may know, the normal publishing platforms normally allow some kind of communication because they have a comments section. I can comment on a post, on a blog. I can comment on a photo in a Picasa account. I can comment in a YouTube account. And Second Life, which is a virtual world, I can speak with other people through Second Life. So it's a chat mechanism. Second Life has a chat mechanism that I can use to communicate with other people. But of course, the traditional tools such as email or Skype for audio conferencing or video conference are regular communication tools that normally every student uses, because most of the students, or every student, has an email account, some of them have a Skype account, etc., etc. And of course, the social networks, which might be one of the most privileged communication tools at the moment. Most people use these networks, these social networks, for socializing, for communicating. When we give some communication on our content, for example, if I create this post, but then I can allow people to comment on it, I can also learn from the people that commented. And as you probably know, and I'll just give the example for blogs, the commenting section is only one tool, let's say like this, one widget that allows users to interact with the content. For example, people can share this content with other people, they can tweet about it, they can put it on his Google Plus account. So normally these kind of platforms make it easy to share content with one another, to communicate with one another. For example, an email link, a printing ink, this is a sharing functionality, we can say like this, etc., etc. And of course, if something is aggregated, for example, if this picture is on the blog but also on my Picasa account, people that use Picasa may also comment the photo, share it, etc. So in other words, people that are living, let's say this word, in Picasa can give me some kind of feedback. People that go to blogs can give me some kind of feedback. And of course, Google Maps. If I have a Google Map account, people don't need to go to my blog to see the Google Maps. If they have a Google Maps account, they can comment directly the map, share it, etc., etc. So we have seen in practice what a PLE is. A PLE is personal, as the name says, so a student chooses his own tools. Most of them are online tools, but some of them, like Photoshop or Blender, may not be online. And we can make this kind of classification. So we would advise students to have some kind of search tools, like Google search engine, store tools to store everything that he searched on the internet and wants to take for himself, editing to edit the content that is stored. Some of that content is private but other is public, so he publishes the content in several platforms. And then for the regular daily communication with others, a set of communication tools is advised. And there are others, but those are more specialized tools, like um, tools that make recommendations. For example, if you go to Amazon and you buy a book, and Amazon recommends others books based on your preferences, tools like this are in another category, also can be used in more sophisticated PLEs. So PLEs seem to be a good platform constituted with several Web 2.0 technologies and others to promote the informal learning. And we don't necessarily have need to have just centralized technologies such as Moodle in our educational systems. We can take advantage of the informal learning that takes place regularly by using a not centralized approach where people share things with one another. So this is the network that is created when people share knowledge with one another. So sometimes academics also use the expression personal learning networks. So I have my own personal learning environment, but in a true sense, I have a personal learning network, because my knowledge is the sum of all the people I interact with. So this is my presentation. I hope you have understood better what the PLE can be in practice.